Welcome back to Smart Life. Just a reminder, you can watch us live in cities all around the country on Biz TV, growing all the time. Now on the air in New York, Philadelphia, and Orlando. Biz TV, it's your biz. And of course, as you know, you can view past episodes of Smart Life at moneybizlife.com. And we all have those confrontational coworkers at the office, but have you ever considered that they might be the smart ones? There's a fine line between being assertive and confrontational, but where do you draw that line to be most effective? And how do you handle those overdramatic coworkers that constantly step across that line? The Biz Gal, Amanda Guralski, is with us now to help. Welcome to Smart Life, Amanda. Good to have you.
Oh, Dr. Dina, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Of course. Now, confrontation in the office, almost unavoidable, because invariably, if you're really doing your job, you're going to want things to progress a certain direction. So how do you know when you're at that point where there needs to be a confrontation of sorts?
Well, I guess first maybe we should define confrontation, because in the workplace, all of us have different personalities, different attitudes, different mannerisms. We take things out of context, in context, all of that. So confrontation is such a negative, aggressive type of a word that oftentimes I think people really confuse what confrontation means and truly what is a confrontational coworker. Because coming up to someone and saying, hey, you know what? You did really well on this project. However, I would prefer next time around if you did it like this. Some people would interpret that as being confrontational and trying to pick a fight, take it personally, start something, while another coworker would look at it just for exactly what it was. Okay, they loved what I did, but prefer that I would do it differently. Perfect, I got it, let's move on.
So the initial go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think what you said, like what is really like drawing that fine line between really what is confrontational that I need to be confrontational back, and just coworkers helping me be better, helping me get stronger, and taking care of challenges and things like that that happen every single day.
And so there's a big difference between sort of like just a difference of opinion and someone who's really perhaps your superior who's trying to help you grow. It's important psychologically to recognize that if you're not getting feedback and you're not getting criticism, that you're probably stagnating in the job as well. So sometimes this criticism, however clumsily delivered, can actually be a gift, can't it?
Right, and I think all of us need to really take a step back on what is happening in the workplace. If you were a student athlete and you've been an athlete your entire life, you love getting feedback, whether it was delivered in a positive way or it was just outright mean, because we understand I need to get this feedback in order to grow stronger. But a lot of people look at that as, you don't like me as a person. You know, we internalize it. We like to think that it's really personal instead of, again, taking a step back and realizing, okay, they're not judging me based off of Amanda Guralski, the person. They're basing me off of Amanda Guralski that just delivered this project and could always use some constructive criticism to do better, especially if you want to be successful, you want to climb that corporate ladder. You need to also be able to take criticism and understand it's not a personal attack on me as a person and who I am. It's just saying, Amanda, you need to step it up a little bit at work.
So if we're the ones doing the confrontation, Amanda, what are the key phrases that we need to avoid so as to not have our necessary constructive criticisms or confrontations come off as some sort of not so constructive criticism or as an argument?
Well, that's a really good question, because I think every word can be misconstrued. I mean, if you're going to have a confrontation with someone or you want to go and talk to them, I always advise all of my clients, do it face-to-face. Never fire off an email, because, again, with emails, they can't feel your energy. They can't see your facial expressions. They're reading it. So you're leaving it up to them to interpret how you wanted to deliver this. So when you're with them face-to-face, make sure that you've taken a deep breath before you have confronted them, and make sure that you really know the point of this conversation. What are truly the three things or the two things I want to make sure that they hear me loud and clear and understand this is what needs to be changed. But I also think that, constantly saying, you did this, you did this, you did this, makes us very defensive.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because this is a different form of communication. One of the things that I read when I was prepping for this particular topic was, in my background of psychology, we learn to use sentences that start with, I feel. We at least know not to use sentences that start with you. That's
Right.
always, that's just never a good idea. Always something we should avoid. But starting a sentence with I feel, especially if it is a situation of confrontation in the business place, can be a huge mistake because feelings are really the only thing that's disputable. If we're talking about work product, starting with I feel, the whole I feel when you because line is only going to be almost a source for arguing because it doesn't really matter how somebody feels. It matters what the work product is. So the focus should really be, especially in the workplace, but maybe even some other times in life, on the product, shouldn't it? Starting again with what the end goal is, more so than somebody's feelings or a more interpersonal conversation.
Exactly. And you never want to attack, again, who they are as a person. I always, when I have to confront a client or something like that, I always approach it as you do a positive of what they've done, and then you follow it up with a negative.
Yeah.
And by saying, like, Amanda, on this project, some of your strong attributes were this and this and this. However, some of the things that I would like to see you improve on next time around is this and this and this. And I always feel like people want to get confrontational when they don't understand as well. Let's not beat around the bush anymore when we're in the workplace. There's a way to deliver, straight to the point type of comments without, getting angry and without delivering them in such a way that the person feels like they're defensive. But when they're confused and they're like, wait, what do you want me to do? Wait, I don't get that. Wait. That's when things like really start to go off in different directions, and now you've taken a simple problem and now it's blown up into this huge ordeal.
And so don't you think that perhaps at that point the best thing to do is say, hey, look, I really liked this part of your project. These are the things I want us to work on going forward, just to continue to build on what we've already done and to make improvements. And so why don't I send you a list of our goals for the next time we do this project, or for as we continue on with this project, something in writing, because it is hard when you're sitting there and you're the recipient of the criticism and you're trying to get your head around what they're maybe perhaps really saying. So you're thinking about alternative meanings. Whereas if it's going to come to them and it looks like a joint project, you as the manager are joining the person, the employee, the subordinate, whatever, or even the partner in the business. You're joining together and you're going to overcome this problem together, starting to design what that looks like. Don't you think that's a really important next step?
Absolutely. And I think you hit it right on the head by saying, and let me put together a strategy of moving forward. Because in order for people to improve and to stop doing what they're doing, they need that strategy. They need those goals. They need that path of, let me help you. Let me show you what I want, so that next time you know and you can confidently do the next project, assignment, whatever it is, knowing, okay, this is how he or she wants it done, and I fully understand that because they've showed me, they've helped me.
Exactly. What are the most common mistakes that people make, Amanda, in these sorts of confrontations? You've certainly listed starting with the you. Just don't start a sentence with that unless it's a compliment. But what are the other common mistakes that people make that you just want to help people avoid?
I think whenever there's a confrontation, make sure that you put yourself in the other person's shoes. There's two sides to every story. There really is. And as much as we all want to believe that we are right 24/7, chances are it was a joint error. So take accountability. And I think accountability in the workplace is something that is lacking immensely. No one wants to admit, okay, I screwed that up. I'm really sorry. That was my error. We always want to pass it off to someone else. So I think, again, when you're approaching a situation, taking a deep breath, getting the frustration and the anger out before you approach that person.
I think those are good
Having
warnings.
a realistic approach to the problem, understanding I was as much of this problem as they were. Maybe I didn't teach them properly.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't clear from the beginning. I mean, we have to all take responsibility. Talk to them like an adult. No one wants to be talked down to, no matter what level you're at.
Right, exactly. And I think what you said about just sort of coming alongside of them rather than talking down to somebody is perhaps the most important mental note to make as you go into these confrontational situations in the workplace. Amanda, thank you so much for being with us. Where can we find you?
Oh, you can find all of my services and my book at my website, which is www.TheBizGal.biz.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda.